Hello everyone, and welcome back to Whispers of Turkish Stars. If this is your first time here, we're thrilled to have you. Today we're diving into a subject tailor-made for romantics and lovers of Turkish showbiz, a whisper-soft, heart-stealing escape that has fans buzzing. We're unpacking the romantic getaway that has everyone talking, and the names at the center of it all make it impossible to look away. Yes, we're talking about the duo whose chemistry has long outlived the sets they shared. Erkan Meriç and Hazal Subaşı. Buckle up, make yourself comfortable, and get ready to drift away for a while. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is the perfect moment to tap subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss our latest stories. This is the couple that stole the spotlight on screen and never quite gave it back. Erkan and Hazal, who captivated audiences with their slow-burn magnetism and quiet glances, seem to have decided to step out of the glare for a moment and write a chapter that belongs only to them. Away from set lights, scripts, and crowded schedules, they're said to have traded call sheets for sunsets, and makeup trailers for open skies. And just like that, a private trip turned into the most public riddle. Because the more carefully they guarded the details, the more eager everyone became to fill in the blanks. In this video, we'll sift through the breadcrumbs, rumors, hints, and those subtle confirmations that feel like they were dropped on purpose. From possible destinations to the moments they might have shared, we'll piece together the atmosphere of this getaway the way fans do best, with intuition, observation, and a little daydreaming. Let's rewind to the beginning. When you think of Erkan and Hazal, you think of a connection that's both grounded and electric. On screen, they move like a matched set, familiar yet surprising, tender yet unpredictable. Off-screen, their paths have crossed enough times to make fans wonder whether the script ended when the cameras stopped or simply changed form. The idea of them choosing to step back from the noise to rediscover each other in private? It's the kind of plot twist that feels inevitable and irresistible all at once. But where did they go? That's the question that set comments sections on fire. Early whispers painted a picture of pure fantasy, the Maldives, with their pale sands and villas hovering over water like a secret kept just out of reach. Others pictured narrow European streets under old lamps, where winter breath clouds the air and love stories practically write themselves. Paris for the poets, Rome for the romantics who liked their feelings served with history. And still, as the dust settled, the most believable clues nudged the compass toward home. A quieter corner of Turkey, a place where the land itself tells stories and time slows down just enough to hear your heartbeat. Cappadocia kept coming up, the dreamlike chimneys carved by wind and centuries, the dawn where the sky fills with balloons like floating lanterns, valleys that swallow sound and hold secrets. Can you see them there? Erkan and Hazal, slipping into the hush before sunrise, stepping into a basket, their silhouettes side by side as they lift away from the earth and the world below becomes a watercolor. But the destination is only half the spell. What do you do in a landscape that begs you to remember it forever? If they were in Cappadocia, a hot air balloon was almost non-negotiable. Picture the horizon warming shade by shade, pink spilling into gold, the ground casting long, soft shadows, and the air still enough to hear the click of a camera when one of them captures the other pretending not to care. Then, down on earth again, walking hand in hand through valleys where ancient churches hide in stone, ducking into cool underground cities where voices echo, and laughter sounds like a promise. There's a kind of intimacy you only find when history wraps around you like a shawl. And then there's the food, oh, the food. Plates that arrive like an embrace, knees lined up with the confidence of a Turkish table that knows it never disappoints, lamb that falls apart as if the fork just asked politely, bread still warm and begging to be torn. A dish that says, you're safe, you're fed, you're home. Dessert, of course, is a second chance at happiness. Baklava with honeyed layers, pistachios that crunch like a secret, tea that lingers long after the last sip. Some people swear they saw a clue that the two took a short cooking class together. Others think the only class they needed was the kitchen itself, where a timer is just a suggestion, and love is the only recipe that matters. But let's talk about how we even got here. In an age when so much of life is lived at full volume, the quiet things speak loudest. Erkan and Hazal have learned the art of hinting, never too much, never too little. Fans noticed a few telling breadcrumbs. A sunset photo appeared on Hazal's stories, the light painted in those Cappadocia colors, apricot fading into rose, a horizon littered with balloon shapes like distant stars. Not tagged, not dated, just there long enough to make hearts jolt. Shortly after, Erkan posted a shot of a spread that aficionados immediately recognized. Regional specialties plated the way they're served in that part of Anatolia, where the table always looks a little like a celebration. Coincidence? Those who follow them closely don't believe in coincidence, they believe in patterns. And then came the chatter about names. Some fans got tied into knots over a rumor that an Erkan in the mix wasn't the same one people assumed, as if there might be another Erkan in their circle, a friend who shares the name and borrowed the spotlight for a day. Others wondered if a lookalike could have slipped into a frame, or if a close friend with a similar profile was part of the plan all along. But the most grounded sources suggest something much simpler. Yes, Erkan Meriç is the Erkan in question, and yes, Hazal Subaşı is the woman by his side. If a third presence drifted in and out, someone standing just out of frame, a confidant guarding the edges of their privacy, that person never needed to be named. In fact, keeping that person unnamed preserved the spell. The romance is still the same. The only thing the clarifications did was sharpen the focus on who truly mattered. Because beneath all the logistics and geotag guessing, the part that keeps us watching is the human part. Seeing them relax, breathe, be themselves, no characters, no roles, reminds everyone that affection can thrive in a whisper just as easily as in a shout. Maybe they traced constellations with their fingertips on a terrace after the town went to sleep. Maybe they told each other stories only they will ever hear. Maybe they watched flames split and curl in a small bonfire and made a promise they won't repeat in daylight. Maybe they walked back to their room, tired in that good way, and left the balcony door open so the cool night could find them. It's not surprising that their teams keep their private lives wrapped in silk. When a relationship has so much attention on it, the gentle things have to be protected. Still, every so often, a curtain shifts, and devoted followers catch a sliver of the scene. One shared landscape. One familiar sweater. One playlist heard faintly in the background of a story. It's enough. It has to be. For fans, these glimpses aren't just gossip, they're affirmations that the connection that once made them cry and sigh on screen didn't drift off when the credits rolled. It's still there, living in the spaces between posts. And then there's the ripple effect. Erkan and Hazal don't just inspire plots, they inspire itineraries. After those hints dropped, searches for Cappadocia spiked. Viewers who never thought to visit started saving photos of honeycomb cliffs and dawn balloon rides. Couples looked at each other over dinner and said, "Someday, us." Maybe the magic is transferable. Maybe the right setting helps love remember what it was always meant to feel like. Uncomplicated, honest, softly certain. Of course, the most ardent sleuths built entire timelines. They compared skies and noted wind patterns. They checked the angle of the light and whispered, "That's winter sun." They swore a reflection in a window was a key, that a hand at the edge of a frame wore a ring we all know too well. It becomes a collective project. Piecing together the canvas so that the final picture feels like a souvenir we all get to keep, even if the trip belonged to two people alone. What matters most, though, isn't the exact check-in date or whether they booked a balloon at dawn or just after. It's the proof of energy between them, the ease that comes from shared history, the warmth that rises when familiarity meets desire. If you've ever loved someone you once worked with, you understand the quiet thrill of building something that belongs to no one else. The romance doesn't need headlines, it needs room to breathe. And that's exactly what this getaway seemed to offer. We can almost see the rhythm of their days there. Morning light sliding across stone. A breakfast with olives and tomatoes glistening in oil, bread that pulls apart into steam. A hike with barely any words, just the sound of their steps and a stray bird. Afternoon spent among craftspeople, hands in clay, watching a bowl take shape and thinking, this is how love is made, turn by turn, patient pressure, a careful lift when the form is ready. Evening wrapped in soft jackets, cheeks a little pink from the cold, a quiet bar where music drifts like incense. Then bed, and the kind of sleep that follows contentment. The mystery adds to the enchantment, of course. In a world where so much is posted before it's even lived, choosing privacy feels almost rebellious. And that rebellion becomes part of the allure. Fans aren't upset about the lack of a tag location, they're thrilled that the story can still hold silence. It means the real thing is happening, beyond cameras and captions. It means they still own their moments. We've combed through all the whispers, cross-checked the little hints, and listened to that instinct that never quite fails when it comes to Erkan and Hazal. While the exact itinerary might remain sealed away in their own memory, the essence of the escape is unmistakable. This was a pocket of time carved out for connection. A chance to remember who they are to each other when no one's asking them to play roles. A reminder that love is both a decision and a discovery, and you have to make space for both. So, to gather it all in one place, the early rumors carried us to far-flung beaches and storied European boulevards, but the most convincing trail led back to a Turkish wonderland, Cappadocia, with its otherworldly shapes and skies that refused to be ordinary. There, they likely floated above a landscape that somehow feels both ancient and brand new, wandered through stone-carved mysteries, and ate like people who know there's joy in sharing a plate. The subtle social clues, those photos and captions that never say too much, stitched the narrative together. The identity confusion only heightened the intrigue, until the calm voices clarified that the names we hoped were involved were exactly the ones at the heart of it. The mood? Tender, laughing, slightly hushed, wrapped in the kind of serenity you can't fake. These are the stories that keep us coming back, because they remind us that our favorite artists are human, fragile, brave, and romantic in all the ways that matter. And when their adventures spark our own, when we start making playlists for road trips we haven't taken yet, or bookmarking towns we've never seen, something lovely happens. Art bleeds into life, and life, for a moment, feels cinematic. Now it's your turn. Do you think the dots point to Cappadocia? Could you see them rising into that dawnlit sky, or do you imagine a completely different hideaway tucked into their plans? Which clue sealed it for you? A color in the sunset, a dish on a table, a stray reflection at the edge of a frame? Drop your theories below, we read them all. And if this little voyage into romance made your day softer, give this video a like, share it with a friend who adores a slow burn love story, and make sure you're subscribed to Whispers of Turkish Stars so you never miss what comes next. Until then, hold on to the magic, and let the idea of love in beautiful places carry you through the week.